Need more help or just want to show your support? Then head over to my Patreon and join my team, where you can get exclusive content like ebooks and bonus plays, as well as early access to my vids and more. Link in the description below. Alright, so starting off with the 4-3, the first series of plays I want to show you, the 43 under, and the play is the cover 3 fire. So we'll go ahead and we'll pick that. Alright, so this play is really simple. The free safety comes down by himself, but I find it's better to push him out a little bit more. This guy here, I like him on the line, but I think moving him out a little bit, if you can, is worthwhile, just because linebackers don't get to the edge as quick as they need to, especially if you don't have a fast linebacker. But this is essentially the look. You can cover the middle by yourself, or you can bluff blitz Dunlap. Obviously your edge heat's where it's going to be. Dunlap here, if you bluff blitz him, it'll just hold the block a little bit longer so that your edge heat can get there. If it's a play action, he's going to get buried by the safety. If it's a run, the safety typically comes from behind the running backs and does a pretty good job of shutting down the run. It's just a really good play. And then you have your option for these outside seam flats. You can either over the top cover them, or you can hard flat them. I find hard flat, if you're sending a blitz, I find hard flatting is really the best way to go. The hard flats are doing a much better job of covering a larger area this year than they did last year anyway. So this would typically be the look. Now you also have your option, this middle linebacker, if you want to, you could cross man him essentially to pair him in, and then you could cover the tight end yourself with Dunlap. Is a pretty good look. I stand up to defensive linemen quite a bit, but that's your look. So that's the first play. Now a good play to go off of the FS3 Sky is you can either go with the cover 3 hard flats or the cover 3 Sky. The cover 3 Sky is the play I'm going to show. It's much more versatile, so we'll pick that. Now this is essentially the same setup. You have your safety down in the box, which is a Loca. I still want to bring him down because he can still cover ground the way that he is. And then I would want Ray back inside a little bit here to help out with run support. But this is a good way to mirror the same look as the FZ or the FS free safety blitz and still get, throw your opponent off guard and still have a really good coverage. So this is a good base defense version of what I was showing you on the last link. Next up, out of the 4-3 over plus, we have the FS Will 3. Very similar to the FS safety blitz, still really effective. So we'll go ahead and we'll pick that. This setup row here, all you really want to do is same thing. You got the safety coming down. He's going to get really good pressure, and then you have your defensive end's going to drop off. I find he's best in an underneath coverage to switch that and go with the hard flats, and then you'll see how you basically get your pressure this way. Because he's not really going to have the ability to get out and cover the purple flat anyway. So this will basically shift responsibility to the cover 3 corner to handle that. And then this is your look. I still find it's a good option. You could always stand up Dunlap, put him on a bluff blitz, and that'll help you with some middle containment. Now the next formation, we got the 46 normal. One of my favorite plays is the cover 2 invert. This is a really good run stopping base defense. We'll go ahead and we'll pick that. So this right here, this is a really good run-stopping formation all by itself. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down a Loca and make it even better. I'm going to put him on a man to the running back, and it's basically going to make him either, if it's a play action, a lot of times he'll come in on the blitz, but it's going to make him really good at stopping the run. You could also put him on one of the tight ends. You want to put him on one of the tight ends, and if there's a slot receiver, I'll run this against 3 wide sets, and if there's a slot receiver that's typically crossing the field, I'll put him on a cross man. But this here, all it really does is still a cover 2, whether he's in his original position or not. It doesn't change anything. A mid-read means if somebody was in front of him dropping back, he would go with them. But a lot of times cover 2s will get beat because somebody's crossing late and this guy's nowhere in that area. So you're not really losing anything by putting him on a man. That's what makes this play so good. So I'm just going to man him on west. Like I said, it'll really help out in run support. I just have to be aware if there's any deep receivers, I have to get back and cover middle. Now, if that happens, consistently anyway, it's not a bad idea to put Dunlap here on a not a hook zone, on a bluff blitz, so he can cover the area you were supposed to cover in your absence. Just make sure you have an athletic defensive end, and you have to make sure that you're, just keep an eye on these outside receivers. You'll know if somebody's running a deep double post, you'll have to drop back and take away that area, which isn't too hard in this game anyway. But these cover 2s, the dark blue zones are covering a lot better anyway. So that's one way to do it. I'll show you how to do it against a 3-wide set here in a second. Like, see here, I had to drop back and cover deep myself. He throws it out of bounds, essentially. The guy was out of bounds. So hopefully here you have like a 4, essentially looks like a 4 wide set. I was hoping to get a 3 wide set, but you could always cross man this safety to anybody. If you're thinking that that's what you're seeing consistently is somebody beating you a deep cross field, that's your option. I also like manning this defensive end to the running back and running it something like this. But like I said, the safety manning is really best used against a 3 wide set where you see a slot receiver crossing the field. It's going to take that away and be really good coverage. So that's a good look. Just make sure that your safety is a really fast safety. Aloka's not ideal for that. Yeah, sometimes I put a cornerback there just because I know he's going to be doing a lot of covering. But you want speed there. You want your best player there, free safety. Next up out of the 46 normal, I got the rush outside. Now this here is just a really good play to mix in sometimes. All you really want to do is press because you want to give a little bit of a time for your blitz to get there. You also have the option of using your safety, which I think would be the best way to go because you don't want to take away one of these man options. This here, your safety, you're sending extra guys, so you should get heat pretty quickly. But a lot of people can't handle that, so you're basically just going to let this run, and you're going to cover essentially middle, leaving yourself a little bit bare on the backside. But as you can see here, I mean, there's just, if you cover adequately, you can see how easy it is to shut down any play. You're just basically giving up any safety help, but your rush should get there. The computer's going to see that and switch to a max, but your average opponent or user will not. And if they're under center, this is going to get a lot of sacks, a lot of crazy heat on them. Next up out of the nickel normal, we have the buck slant show 2. So all I'm really going to do is I'm going to shift my line, which is L1, and hit right on the left stick. And then I'm going to hit L1 again, and I'm going to hit right on the right stick, and they're going to slant right. Then I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to hug the gap of this defensive lineman. You're going to see how this loops pressure. There he didn't even get blocked. I mean, that was 2 guys getting in. But that's typically what you're going to see on a play action, especially. This year I'm spread out a little bit more, but it's all good. They actually changed the diagram, but this is something, you're going to see how that gets pressure against a lot of inside. Especially if they're under center. This should still work, but it changed the diagram enough where Kevin Minter's doing something different. So now I'm just going to use the defensive end. So we're going to do that one more time. Like I said, you just have to make sure you're just shifting both. I didn't do that right. So I'll do that one more time. Slant, and then slant right, or move your line and slant it right. And you'll see how, especially on an open side like this, how you're going to get backside pressure. And once again, cornerback's coming in easy by himself. The linebackers are coming in a lot too. So we'll go ahead and move on after that. Another really good play is the nickel blitz too, but it's not nearly as successful as it was last year. Next up we'll show though is the cover 3 Mabel. Next up out of nickel normal, we'll show the cover 3 Mabel, if I can find it. There we go. This here is not really a lot of adjustments. You basically have just outside containment everywhere you go. The seam flat should cover high and low, but I don't find that the seam flat's as good as it was last year. But you really have the option of putting your defensive end here, who I consider a free man, into a hard flat, or you can stand him up into a vertical hook. And then you basically have help, to wherever you think you might need it. I think typically you don't want to cover by yourself over the middle, but you're not going to get the most pressure either because it's only a 3-man, blitz. You could also you could leave Dunlap in, and you could use your other defensive end, depending on what's the open side of the field. Like here, I would say, since I'm covering a bunch, I would want to stand over these guys, and then as they cross me, let them go, and to the defensive end's vertical hook would probably be the better way to go, because I want to be there at the start of the play rather than the end of the play. But like I said, this is not going to get the most pressure, but it's a good play to mix in for some really good zone work. As you can see how it's really hard. It's going to be really hard to throw on the left side. And then me as a user, I'll control most of the middle. But I would say the open side of the field, since we're in the middle here, I would want all the zones you see on the left side of the field to be the open side of the field more times than not. Next up out of the nickel normal, we have the, where's it at here? The corner blitz 3. Now I'm going to flip it. Not like you have to, but I'm going to flip it anyway. So we'll go ahead and run this. Now this play right here, I find it works best if you're you know, if your cornerback's covering a wide receiver who's out a little bit farther, but it actually works pretty good on the inside too, so I don't want to say that. But either way, you're going to want to move out Ray here because he can be covering a potentially open receiver. You can get burnt pretty quickly if they recognize the cornerback blitz, because it'll leave that receiver open momentarily for a quick pass. But other than that, it's a really good play. So all I'm really going to do is I'm going to bluff blitz Ray. I want him to be outside. Like I said, if this cornerback's out further, the bluff blitz for Ray works a little bit better, but it's fine. You just want a little bit of spacing there. And then, you know, a lot of times you can stand up Dunlap by bluff blitzing him too. And then you also kind of want to stand in his gap as far over as possible. I find it helps to push your line to the left. And, you know, I find that'll help out a little bit. So we're going to run just like this. You see that cornerback had to take a little bit of a long route, and you can see how he dropped it because there was good coverage. But you can see how that receiver can be immediately open as the blitz came in. But like I said, this here is a little bit of a setup. The bluff blitz over here is way more important than the bluff blitz over here. But I would say that'd be the best way to do it, and then just cover the middle by yourself. In this scenario, because the safety's down, it's actually a pretty good idea to cover the safety, who actually is a corner, which is kind of weird. But that's your setup right there. Yeah, as you see, the blitz is coming in free. As I run one more time, the quarterback's got to get rid of it. So we'll go ahead and move on. Next up, out of the nickel double A gap, we have the nickel overload 3. This play is real simple. Last year, you had to bring this cornerback down and press him and all kind of stuff. You don't have to do that now. He's in pretty good position where it is. So all you really got to do is zone all linebackers. That's just hitting R1 and up on the right stick. And now you'll have really good spacing to cover both half of the middle of the field there. If you don't do that, if you try to just stand up, you know, the linebacker by himself, it's still pretty good. But I just think that you get a better look by just, you know, zoning all. It's much quicker. And then you have your option to underneath coverage or over the top coverage or whatever you want as far as your cloud flats, but these guys should handle it pretty good. I would say bringing down a loco a little bit to help him get to that area is probably pretty good. Closer to the line of scrimmage, the better, especially if he has speed. If he doesn't have speed, it's an entirely different story. And then as far as the defensive line goes, you can shift it to the left if you want, and it'll help that cornerback get in a little bit quicker. As you can see here, we get really adequate coverage. Next up, we got the cover one hole. Now this play here, I find it's best to just blitz all. Every once in a while you got to do that, and then I would say press. And this is just like the blitz I showed in the 4-6. You're going to want to cover the middle linebacker, which is now the safety, and you're just basically going to send the house here. I didn't mean to spread out like that, but yeah, you want to spread your defensive line is very helpful too, and you're just going to have a blocking advantage. Now, like I said, pressing is important when you're running stuff like this. You can see how far back the safety is over Watson. You can bring him down if you want to. I think actually they brought down the cornerback by mistake, but you just want to take away. You know, this is an all-out blitz right here. That should get in pretty quick. And you see how, you know, there's just nowhere to go. It's just a really simple blitz. You're just blitzing all linebackers. Like I said, spreading the lines, not a bad option, and pressing. And this puts a little bit of stress on you as a user to make sure you don't give up nothing over the middle quick. As you can see, the quarterback has to get rid of it right away. Everybody's coming. So just an good all-out blitz. Next up, out of the nickel 3-3-5, we have the loop crash 2. This play is really simple. All you're going to do is shift your linebackers over. You're going to hit L1 and then right on the left stick. Actually, that was the shifted line. You're going to do that anyway. You're shifting the line, and then you're also going to hit R1 and left on the left stick, and you're going to shift the linebackers too. Then you're going to take this guy right here and just going to kind of hover in this gap, and that's the look right there. You kind of want to come over as close as you can to your defensive end, but you don't have to get too close. And that's basically just going to confuse the blocking. You'll get a one-on-one with the running back pretty much every time with the middle linebacker if the running back gets there. He won't typically get there though. And then you'll also get your defensive ends tends to get really good pressure off of this play too. So two guys should really come in free, as you see there. Every once, I mean, the linebacker a lot of times will pass that guy straight. You see the defensive end gets in again, but a lot of times that linebacker will come in screaming. But either way, this is really consistent pressure from the blitz. So let's go ahead. Let's see if we can get this linebacker in screaming. But yeah, that right there, he just gets chopped. But you can see he's just, you know, pressure coming from everywhere really. But yeah, you want to get in front of 73. You want 73 to draw. You want to draw his attention, or else he'll drop into that linebacker a lot of times. As here, the cornerback comes in free, which can happen also. So you really see. I think that the best way to do this is a lot of times the linebacker will come in free, but it's really, you're getting it from several different areas on this play. Next up, out of the 3-5 nickel, we have the Tampa 2. Now this play here, I really find that this zoning linebacker is really unnecessary. In this scenario, to a 3-wide set, you might want to leave it alone. But essentially what I want to do is I would typically want to make this guy a man option, because I don't think you need more than 2 yellow zones in a cover 2. So on this scenario, I'll probably man him to Perriman, because I would imagine Perriman would be coming open over the middle, and then I would user that area. You know, I would use your Watson and Perriman, and I think that's really the best way to do it. You could also put him, say it was a running back on this side. I mean, you can leave him in that zone coverage that you have him, and then you could always, if the running back's getting you, you could always man the running back on the other side with Ray. But you really don't need one of these linebackers. Pretty much every time should be in a man option to somebody. You can't cross man though, like you could in last year's game. So your best option for that is you could always use the middle linebacker. You can cross man him, or you have to use somebody in that area to do it. So that would really be the best way to run this play. This is something I would typically only use in passing scenarios as well, because I don't find it's really the best run defense in the game out there. Now this guy here can get some pressure from time to time, but this is to me just a really good base defense. Next up, out of the nickel 3-5 wide, we have the 3 Sam Will blitz. This here is one of my more favorite base defenses. There's a couple different ways to run it. Number one, you could always just zone all, which is R1 and up on the left stick. I'm sorry, the right stick. That's a pretty decent route option, but once again, I don't think you really need 2 inside linebacker or 3 inside linebackers covering these guys. So I would say this guy here, I would typically either put him on a man, either to a slot receiver, a tight end, a running back. Like I've showed you in a couple different plays. In this scenario, it'd probably be a running back. As far as base alignment before the play starts, I would typically stand up Ray and then bring Denard down into the box a little bit, so he's got outside containment. It really makes it a better run defensive play. You know, if you do it like this, you just have much better run defense. It basically has like a 5-man front with the safety on the one, or the linebacker on the one side, the cornerback on the other. Who would probably, if you're worried about run, it would be a little bit better if he's a safety. You could always put that in there, and then it's essentially like a 5-3 look. I didn't mean from the run the ball though, but you can see there. I mean, I didn't mean for the run, but you see how it shut it down automatically. I wasn't even really paying attention, but that's basically how that play works. And then, like I said, you can have the same setup. Bringing this guy down is not going to hurt him in coverage and pass, but you can have the same setup where you leave this linebacker blitzing and stand this guy up. I typically would go, zone all and then just re-blitz one of them, either to the left or the right. You just hit R1, and then you got on the left stick it will blitz the outside guy, or on the right stick it will blitz the other side guy. So the quickest way to do it is zone all, then re-blitz whoever you want to re-blitz. Like I said, this is a really good way to do the run defense. If you have time, you could also put this guy out here a little bit, but it really doesn't matter. This is a run defense that'll stop, you know, pretty much any running formation. I've used this on the goal line just like this, and it works really well. So now I'll show you a blitz on the next. If you click the next link, 5 wide, we have the 3 Sam Will blitz. You probably want a pretty fast cornerback where Jackson is. That'd probably be the only stipulation. But like I said, right here you got 2 receivers. You got a receiver, a slot receiver, and another guy right there. So you're going to make sure you cover that backside pretty quick. As you can see, they come flying in to get the Flacco. So really consistent blitz. But like I said, you have to make sure it's to the open side of the field. Here's another scenario where you could rock this blitz like this. And then you're cover. You have to cover. You know, in this area, you really don't have to cover behind the blitz as much. But this is something that you're leaving your backside empty. You just have to know that. But it's still a really effective blitz. Next up, out of the nickel 3-3-5 wide, we have the 3 Sam SS blitz. So a lot of these plays here, I was essentially moving this safety out. Here, you have that look. He comes down by himself. But I think moving him out a little bit manually is probably the best way to go. You're really going to have to cover with Ray drop to the center real quick. This guy here, you could also put him in a bluff blitz to kind of spy. I would say it's probably better to cover with Johnson because you can stand up a lot quicker. But that safety should come in pretty quickly. As you can see there, we actually get pressure up the middle there because the line's pulling out. Except by the nickel 335 wide, we have the 1 SAM SS Blitz. Yeah, this play right here I find is best to base align, and it's your option to press. I don't really like how this cornerback's so far out off of Watson. I'd say bringing him in is probably the best way to go. But this safety here, you can move him out a little bit if you want to, but he's fine where he is. But I think in this play you really want to cover as a Loka down here in the box and use the safety. And let's go ahead and let's see how this works out. They're play actioning. And you can see how the pressure forces a bad throw. Yeah, man coverage is really good this year. Just make sure you safe tackle when you have the opportunity. If you want to, like the run play, if you think it might be a run, you can still stand up Ray, just like I showed in some of the other plays. But base aligning doesn't always get these guys in the best position, but the base align is definitely a good way to go. And we'll go ahead and we'll run this. Like I said, I like coming right up here with the safety. I've faith in myself anyway that I can make a play. As you see, we got a deep crossing man here, and then we get the sack. So a lot of times the computer will adjust to this type of look. They can sense it or whatever, but your user opponent won't. So we're going to move on. Next up, out of the dime normal, we have the dime blitz 2. So this play here is real simple. I like the way that it is. Last year I used to stand up this defensive end, but I actually think he's fine the way he is. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to spread my line, and I'm going to run it just like this. I could typically also slant my my line to the left towards the blitzing corner is not a bad option. And then if you take Shaw here and put him on a bluff blitz, that's not the best. That's not the worst way to go. So hopefully he can hold up a blocker a little bit. I like to stand just right over the center here to make sure that I hold him before I drop into coverage. You can see how that guy just comes right in for an easy sack. But it's not essential to do the bluff blitz. But I would still say spreading, you know. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. You're spreading and then putting your line slant left and then coming down over the center is probably the most key portion of it. Next up out of the dime normal, we have the 3 double sky. Yeah, this play here, you kind of want to treat this like a cover 2 because you're really going to be doing most of the center coverage by yourself. Leave that defensive tackle there because he's going to be kind of in your wake. If it's a 3rd and long, you could always blitz that defensive tackle too and give yourself a nice 6-man blitz. In that scenario, you want to make sure that you're spreading your line because you're trying to get the outside pressure the most. But it's up to you if you want to blitz that defensive tackle or not. But yeah, this is the look right here. So I'm just basically going to cover the middle, the deep 3rd, and like I said, 3rd and long. This is really the best way to go. As you can see, the pressure probably was getting in there. So I'm like, I have nothing but confidence that I can get back. So I still bring this guy down, but a lot of people might not feel that way. So it's really up to you if you want to bring that safety down or not. And you can see how it helps to get that pressure that much faster. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on. Next up out of the quarter normal, we have the FZ3 Sky. Yeah, this play right here, you can leave it just like this. I really like to stand up Carlos Dunlap, the opposite end defensive end. I typically want to run this blitz from the backside too, and then I would run it just like this. Sometimes you want to move that blitzing cornerback out. Look at that, they didn't even know where the ball was. Sometimes you want to move these cornerbacks out a little bit just to give them a little bit of spacing, so hopefully that the line won't pick that up, and then you can shift away from it so that you can hold your blocks a little bit. So these things are just common techniques that really tend to work out. But you can see here the cornerback's coming in untouched, and then he has to throw a bad throw. So that's really the best way to do that.